Hello again, this is Dr. Mahmoud, another video for introduction to cost management, and we are going to go over chapter 5 in this video. Chapter 5 talking about the project cost management. What are the phases and what kind of activities that we do? So let's go ahead and do a quick introduction about the cost management. So what is a project cost management? It's the process of planning, estimating, budgeting, and controlling costs. So these are the phases that we should go over when we manage a cost for a project. We do a planning, estimating, budgeting, and controlling costs through a project life cycle to achieve what? The goal with an approved budget and within the time frame. So we need the whole goal, the idea of managing the project is in the project cost management. The idea is to achieve the goal of finishing the project within the approved budget and within the time frame. Now, for the project managers are expected to have these skills to plan and control the project budget. And again, the goal, one more time, is to finish the project within the given time or specified time and the given budget. There are 4 phases to manage a project cost. The project cost, starting with the resource planning. Then once you have the resources, you estimate the cost, and then you budget the project, you issue in a budget, and then you control the cost. So let's go ahead and start with the first phase, which is resource planning. In this phase, what you need to do, you need to look into the resources that are required to execute a project, and that will help you to finish it and complete it. For example, you need to look into human resources and requirements and equipments. These are the requirements that are needed. So basically, human resources include the employees, how many workers you need, contractors, and in terms of the equipments, we're looking into the infrastructure, the vehicles, the specialized equipment, anything related to the equipment to help you achieve and accomplish the project. This resource planning phase is done before any actual. So it is a planning phase where we're doing it before actually starting the project itself, before any actual work begins at the beginning of the project. And one thing we do in this phase, we do what we call the work breakdown structure. And a work breakdown structure, it's a technique that we use in project management to make a work or a project more manageable. We need to divide the work into sub-tasks and smaller tasks to be able to manage. So the work breakdown structure is a management technique that aims to manage the work more manageable and to make the work more manageable and approachable by breaking the work into smaller tasks. So we have a project, we try to divide the project into smaller tasks so you are able to manage it. The project managers need to look at each task and subtask in the work breakdown structure, and then in there, you should identify the number of workers, the skills needed, the equipment, material requirement to finish that task. So instead of dealing with a huge project, you're dealing now with a task and subtask, and you look into the requirements to finish that particular task. With the work breakdown structure, project managers can understand all the details for finishing the project. So basically, you're going by task, you manage task by task, and then you will be able to find all the details that you need to finish the project within the approved time and within the approved budget. Using this technique, which is a task level, basically, which is going into the smaller details, that will help you to, as a project manager, to develop an accurate and complete inventory of all the resources that you need to help you for the next phase, which is the cost estimating phase. Now, when you do the planning, you need to collect some data. So where are you going to get the information from? This information can be taken from historical data from the past project. This is where you look into schedules and efforts that has been done to finish a specific task or subtask. Also, you could have a feedback from subject matter experts where they will tell you exactly how long it will take you to finish a task, what tools do you need, what material. Also, you could rely on the team members. These are the people who are on the front line, and these are the people who doing the job itself. So the collaborative approach, which is consulting team members, it's a great methodology to have an accurate data, especially when you don't have any past experience, or you don't have any past data, historical data to use. Also, in this plan, in this phase, the planning phase, what you want to do is risk assessment. What you want to do, you have to think about some of the risk that you may see during implementing this project. And one of the risk assessment strategy is assessing the impact of time on resource requirements. Sometimes we need that resource, but however, this resource is not available until few months. So you have the option whether to stop the work until that resource will be available, or you could maybe, do a contractor, or you rent that equipment, or you find an alternative, or to hire another person to do it for you who has access to that equipment. So, but however, if you don't have it, if you don't have that resource, that might delay your project. And of course, that will cost you money, a lot of money, because you still have to pay for your workers. And maybe you have to pay some fees because you did not deliver the project on time as the contract said. So this is kind of a risk assessment plan. There's where you have to create a plan to investigate what would be your plan if you have seen any risk, or if you faced any risk during the project. Now moving into phase two, which is the cost estimating. Project managers, what they do, they have a list of resources from previous phase. They look into the resources based on the planning phase after we did the work breakdown structure, and then they assign a cost for each resource. So here are some of the things that you need to do the cost estimating. You need a list of resources that's coming from the previous phase, and then you attach price for each resource. So you assign a dollar amount for each of the resource. The duration for each resource is required. This will help you to create the schedule. List of assumptions, potential risk. These are also important. Look into the past project cost and industry benchmarks. If there's anything that will help you to estimate the cost, that would be great, especially based on your past experience from previous projects, or maybe based on the industry benchmark. And you could look into, financial companies' financial health and reporting structure. You could look into the some of the cash flows of the company, and expenses for the direct or indirect costs, etc. These will help you in estimating the cost. There are a few factors that you should be aware of when you estimate the cost, and these are basically the factor that you should consider when you do the cost estimating for a project, such as the fixed and variable cost, overhead, inflation, or time value of money, which means the interest rate if you basically taking a loan from a bank. The greater the deviation between the estimation and the actual cost, the less likely it's your project to be succeed. So what your goal here as a project manager is to use your planning, your estimation, whatever estimation you have, and make sure to stick with that estimation. Sometimes we have to change with the estimation due to the circumstances that we face during the project. However, but that will impact on finishing the project successfully. And it's pending with on the sponsor approval, because you need to get the money from the sponsor in order to finish the project. And there are a lot of techniques that we could use to have the cost estimation, such as the PERT, which is the parametric modeling, or program evaluation. Techniques. Also, we could use the activity-based costing, which is the ABC costing. Maybe we could do the job costing. Maybe we could do the life cycle costing. In all of these are some of the techniques that will help you to do the estimation. The PERT in particular, the PERT techniques will help you to reduce the variation between the estimated cost and the actual cost. And we will talk about that in more details in next chapter. Now, moving into the phase 3, which is the cost budgeting. In this phase, what they have to do, the project managers, they have to allocate the cost. What does that mean? They have to actual cost, to have to release some of the money to a certain project part, such as individual tasks or modules for a specific project period. For example, let's take a look into this project with a $20 million. The project manager decided to go with the first and 2 quarters, so divided the project into 4 quarters, for example. So for the first and 2 quarters, they said, okay, these are the starting point for us. What we need to do, we need to release amount, allocate a budget of 100,000 for this project. So they started as with the first and second quarter with this amount of money. So this is allocating. So the difference between the cost estimation and cost budgeting, cost estimation is just on paper what you're expecting to have as a cost for that project. However, budgeting is allocating the money, giving the money to the team, saying, okay, here's the 100,000, go start your first and second quarter phases. This phase of cost budgeting is important because it will help you to establish the cost baseline. So remember this keyword baseline, which is basically the amount of money that a project will cost. This is the actual budget, and this will help you to evaluate project cost performance. So now you have the cost line, the cost baseline, which is how much you have been given to finish that task. However, once you implemented that task, did you spend that much of amount of money, or did you exceeded that money, or you did not use all of your money? So this is where we use the cost baseline as a way to evaluate the project cost performance. Evaluating a project cost performance will allow manager to assess how much budget needed to be released for future phases. So now once you evaluate your performance, you say, okay, here's what I need for the next phases, and will help you to go to your managers and assess what the future needs of money. Now, moving into the last phase, which is the cost control. In this phase, project managers, what they have to do, they have to find the difference between the baseline and the actual spending. Cost control is important for this phase, important for any project, especially in this phase, because it allows project manager to prepare a list of appropriate action to reduce the risk. So once you know that you exceeded your budget, you have to create a list of action to reduce the risk and ensure the project succeeds. Corrective action plan or correction action that may help reduce the cost variation may include increasing the budget allocation or reducing the scope of work. One of the techniques that we use in project management called earned value management, or EVM. It's one of the most popular techniques that we use in project management to help you compare the big cost baseline with the actual spending. The cost management plan is another document that we use in the controlling phase, which is this document contains work breakdown structure details and information such as the key project measures, tolerances, correction action to be taken if exceeded the acceptable limits, and a list of people who can make decisions. So the cost management plan is the document that will help you to better manage your project, and this will help you to control your project. With this, I would like to conclude this chapter, and I will see you in another chapter of introduction to cost management, and next chapter will be about project life cycle. We will talk about project life cycle. Thank you very much, and I will see you in another video.